Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Libra, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of March 2024. I hope you are well. I'm using the Night Sun Tarot for you today, rather controversially. Keeps getting flagged for nudity by the AI bots that scalp YouTube. Anyway, if there's anything a little bit nudie that shows up, I shall just cover up the card. So that's why I'm doing that. Right, before we begin, what do I need to tell you? There will be an extended at the end of this reading. So if it resonates with you and you'd like to go a little bit deeper, there'll be a link in the description box that you can follow to access that. That's link number 1. Link number 2 is to my private community, the Order of the Phoenix, which is over on this Circle platform. You can get access to all of the extended content for no additional cost, beyond that of the membership, just to be clear. And hang out with a really extraordinary group of people, and I don't say that lightly, they are extraordinary. So if that sounds like your bag, you know what to do with that. Right, let's have a look and see what's going on with you, Libra. Can I have 3 cards for Libra, please? There's the first one. We have the 7 of Swords in your recent past. Current energy for Libra. 3 of Swords in reverse. Interesting. Oh, good Lord. What is coming towards Libra for March? It appears it is the 5 of Swords. Very sword heavy. Now, obviously, you are an air sign, so that's a little less concerning than if you were, say, I don't know, a Pisces or something. But we've got the Ace of Swords at the bottom of the deck there. And I do feel like this coming month may well be quite testing for you in lots of ways. I mean, obviously, the emphasis is on the workings of the mind this month. And has been up until this point. I feel like a lot of Libras are pretty exhausted at the moment. And I'm not sure if that's an emotional exhaustion or a mental exhaustion, but it's an exhaustion nonetheless. We have the Ace of Swords at the bottom of the deck, and that fundamentally speaks about a truth. You'll notice that it's got a crown of thorns around it right here. So there's a discomfort with a truth that is arising. And I've got to say, none of these cards are particularly comfortable. But let's have a look and see if there's any redemption in the clarifiers. Tell me why the 7 of Swords is here, please. Okay, we have the 9 of Swords. What else is going on here, please, for Libra? We have the 3 of Pentacles in reverse. Tell me about the 3 of Swords. I've got more cards showing up here. We've got the 5 of Cups and we've got the 10 of Pentacles. Tell me about this 5 of Swords. 9 of Wands in reverse. We have the Devil and we have the Hermit with the 10 of Wands at the bottom of the deck, which was actually the card that I was waiting for, because from the outset, when this card landed here, it felt to me very much like you feel like you're doing everything on your own, Libra. And I don't know if that's in a specific situation or whether that's a more general feeling that you have right now. But it feels like the energies are culminating this month, right? There's some sort of peak kind of breakout moment for you here. But it feels like it's going to be quite uncomfortable, kind of, you know, I don't know what this is, weaving and bobbing around. Whatever it is that's coming up for you this month. For some of you, it may involve the revelation of truth, a truth that you did not see or did not want to see, about all sorts of things. But I mean, let's start over here first. I mean, we've got an end and a beginning here, and there is some there's a redemptive quality to the energies because we have an end and a beginning. You know, the end may be extremely uncomfortable, but the truth that comes through from this, whilst challenging, is actually setting you free in some sort of way, or at least that's the idea. That's what we're working towards. Whether or not you achieve it fully in the month of March, we'll have a look at that in the extended. But we start off with the 7 of Swords here in the recent past. Now, there's Moon in Aquarius, and it is often linked to deceit. Deceptive behaviours, deceptive practices by other people. A lot of times the way that I read this card is in terms of self-deceit principally because I always kind of link things back to people, at the end of the individual people, how things are affecting them. But I wonder, it feels like it's roughly 50-50 for all of you, but maybe there's a 100% across the board kind of self-deceit, which sounds sort of brutal, but I don't really mean it that way. It's the kind of deceit that our subconscious pulls on us, right? But for others of you, there may be people who are actively deceiving you. I don't know. We'll get into it. But one of the things about this Night Sun Tarot that I really like is that the Seven of Swords meaning is softened somewhat by the way that Fabio Lestrani's illustrated it, because it can sometimes speak to, thinking strategically, or a case of consideration of tactics and whatnot. And Fabio's taken a rather sideways step on this one. At least that's how it feels to me today. Tomorrow it may feel different, because he's got this egg in his hand. And you see the face on this character here, like it appears to be quite shocked by what is in his hand there. And I often think of that as being, like a ball of potential, and I'm like, oh, holy shit, it's in my hand. There's some sort of new start here. There's some sort of opportunity that I feel actually has been bobbing around you for quite a long time. This is interesting because this is taking us off kind of sideways from my initial point, that you have not seen, or you saw it but you haven't fully thought it through, or you saw it or there was a cost to it here that you did not think the circumstances warranted. But I can see here you being pushed to a state of discomfort, extreme discomfort, so that perhaps you reconsider whatever this is. Now, when we're talking about extreme discomfort, I mean, we could be talking about simply the way that you are overthinking the shit out of all sorts of things at the moment. That's entirely possible. But it feels like what I want to say to you is there's more to life than what you're experiencing right now. And there's a funny kind of Eight of Swords aspect to this, that there's sort of a nod to it with the certainly with the Seven of Swords being on the table and the Nine of Swords being there. And it's almost notable in its absence. It's almost more screamingly obvious by its absence, because what it is that you have not noticed is that it is the way that you are mentally approaching, psychologically approaching an issue that is the thing that is causing the problem here. And I cannot get away from this idea that there's some sort of opportunity for a new start here that you've either dismissed out of hand, or you're not ready for, or that it just does not feel like circumstances will allow, because of other duties, other responsibilities, other ways in which you are flogging yourself stupid. Now, this Nine of Swords appeared this way, and I know it upsets people sometimes, but I do read the cards when they fall like that. And we can see cards in this state as either transitioning, so, not really committing to being like this, certainly not yet committing to being like this, but in that point of transition between the two. And fundamentally, that card speaks about perspective. Now, the question for you is, has your perspective taken a turn for the lost, or has it been lost and taking a turn for the up? I would say it's kind of headed that way, or at least it has been headed that way, Libra, because we've got this Three of Pentacles in reverse here. And like I said, that I could feel the exhaustion coming off that card as soon as I saw it. And that sense of burden, that sense of you being the only one who is doing something here. The Three of Pentacles in the upright talks about people working together, pulling in the same direction to build something that is bigger than them. You feel to me like you're trying to keep things together, and you feel like you're the only person that's doing it. This Nine of Swords turning feels like the separation that is occurring from Anything that feels too optimistic or positive about the future, and a slow, an awareness that there is a slow slide towards things being mentally much more difficult, an awareness that it has been that way. And I do feel like there's a flicker of something that's trying to pull it back out again. Like I said, whenever we have a 10 and an ace, what we've got is something completing, and we've got initiation of something new here, right? And we did talk about the Ace of Swords as being the truth, but it can be a whole new way of seeing. And I do think with the absolute clusterfuck of cards, swords cards that we've got on the table here, it is something to do with the way that you are thinking about a situation. And I do think that there's a jolt here that seemingly is asking you to think about what it is that you want, not just now, but in the future, what it is that you're prepared to invest in. Asking yourself the question of just how long it is that you're going to try and keep up this feat of endurance that you're engaged with before you see what it is that the universe is trying to push you towards. And what it's trying to push you towards, again, is this opportunity that feels like it's surfaced. You've either dismissed it out of hand, or maybe you thought about it and then dismissed it. But it's like it's coming around again. It won't leave you alone, Libra. Now, in your current energy, you've got the Three of Swords in reverse. Now, that's a Libra card there. It's Saturn in Libra, actually. And these two cards, although I did put them the right way up when I turned them over, they both turned over sideways as well. And there's something canny unstable about all of this. I talk about the Three of Swords in reverse often about in terms of healing, right? We're letting gravity do the work, pulling the swords out of the heart. But here it feels like an obfuscation around what it is that is actually causing the problem, right? So the Three of Swords for me is the point at which the truth makes contact with your emotions, and in that moment nothing can be the same again, right? It's a proper holy shit moment. And that that can happen when information comes to you that is decades old. It's not temporally specific in that way, but in the moment that is how it's experienced. Now, it's interesting that I have personally this fairly arbitrary rule that swords up are good and swords down are bad. And we've got two cards that are effectively neutral because they're neither up nor down. And we see that here with the Nine of Swords. We also see it here with the swords being put out across the floor like this. And then we have the Three of Swords, which is kind of good because there's at least some truth, but it's kind of bad because that middle sword is going straight through the heart and it fucking hurts. We've got an Ace of Swords there too. Now, the fact that it's... yeah, you know that. You can see it, right? Bear with me a second. This card being this way up is now mirroring the energies of this, because we've got a crown of thorns around here, right? We've got a truth that is difficult to bear. We have a sword which is talking truth that is spearing straight up the heart. And the ratio of up swords to down swords is changed, which makes me feel like there's information here that maybe at this point you are still not quite privy to. Like, it hasn't quite hit the heart yet in the way that it needs to. And I know that's a funny thing to say, but this card is a Saturnian card. And it's like there's a lesson here that has not quite played out in its entirety yet. But it's definitely circling, and there is a truth coming. The Five of Cups can speak to focusing on the wrong thing, and it could well be that you've been so distracted for the last few weeks, easily the last 4 weeks on something that you've been working really hard at, right? A way in which you have been exhausting yourself. and focusing on that so hard that you kind of missed other things that were going on that might have required your attention, might have required some sort of... I don't even think it's input from you, Libra. You feel like you've been a bit scattered. And it's been difficult to marshal your thoughts and work out where the fuck it is you're supposed to be paying attention to things. Right? The Five of Cups doesn't say flat out, as it would do here, that whatever it is has completely gone by you. Neither is it saying that you're emerging, from this all-encompassing energy of the Five of Cups and being like, okay, right, I know where I need to go now. It's sideways. It's slow. There's something percolating here that you can feel and you don't know what it is. I suspect that you might be focusing on something other than what you're supposed to be focusing on, but you don't really feel to me to have a choice at this point. And this Ten of Pentacles speaks about security and stability, things coming to a state of culmination, but it also talks about heritage and legacy. And I wonder if it's the aspect of that that is causing you the biggest problem at the moment. I mean, whenever the Ten of Pentacles, shuffles off its upright position, we've got an instability, but this feels more like a rumble than true things are wobbling around and there's been some sort of earthquake, right? It's like there's a rumbling here. And the rumbling is getting really noisy. I'm going to pull this Wild Unknown deck out here. It's got somewhat of the energetic signature of the Seven of Pentacles about this. All of these cards that have come up so much, so far. So, touche, my friend, touche. Three of Wands in reverse. Seven of Pentacles on the table, exactly as I felt. And we have the Ace of Swords again, this time, at the bottom of the deck. It's like you're expending energy. Oh God, this is like an energy that I was explaining to my circle people that I was feeling. It's like my axles are turning on this great big huge 18-wheel truck that I am. But I don't have any fucking wheels. And so I'm putting in all of this energy and the engine's turning over and everything that needs to move is, apart from the fucking truck, because it's got no wheels on it. The Three of Wands in reverse is a lack of forward movement. It's not to say that things aren't happening, it's just that things aren't happening the way that you want to. They're not happening at the speed that you want to. They're not actually manifesting anything new and good for you. It just feels like an amplification of this heavier, burdened energy that we see in the Ten of Wands, but I also felt so very fucking strongly between these two cards here. And the Seven of Pentacles. It's often possible in situations like this that the answer's right there and it's staring us in the face, and for whatever reason we can't see it. It's like very slowly the information starts to seep through and there's a bigger picture that's starting to emerge. Now, the reason that I said this has this energetic signature of the Seven of Pentacles is because there are issues here, Libra, that require you to fix them, but not in a solution-oriented sense. It's like there are all sorts of things that are quite unstable within you, but you have not quite noticed yet. And by unstable, I'm not meaning to insult anyone. That's not my intention. It is more around the idea that the internal balance has been lost. And the universe is pushing you to this state of absolute discomfort so that you change something that you are something that you're committed to and something that you're wading your way through, just trying to get to the end. But these cards of truth that are popping up here at the side feel to me like they're the only thing that's going to break the deadlock, which is you absolutely exhausting yourself, doing everything on your own. Like, it's about an internal realization that needs to happen here. Now, I mentioned that it could involve dishonesty from another person. That's possible. But where the situation may be self-deception, we could be looking at the kind of circumstances where you feel obligated to do something that actually isn't your responsibility to be doing. And so you're wearing yourself out because you're carrying somebody else's load. And the problem is not that you're doing that, but that you think it's your responsibility to do that. Which has absolutely got Saturn vibes all over it. And the problem is, like I said, with this Eight of Swords that is implied, although not overtly stated, like, you don't see that it's the way that you're thinking about this situation yet. I've often said that I really like the Eight of Swords when it shows up, because it shows me that there's something about my thinking that is off here. So when the Eight of Swords appears, it's like, okay, it's me, I understand that now. But we don't know what we don't know, and we can't see what we can't see. And I think even at this point, it is previous to tell you that it's an Eight of Swords situation, because it's almost like you've got to keep going through this discomfort until you start paying attention to you rather than the circumstances that are going on outside of you that are draining your energy. And I did notice that the King of Pentacles was underneath there, and he always speaks about responsibility that is borne by people. As Taurus, very responsible, and all the kings are responsible, but it's an interpretation that comes up without fail whenever the King of Pentacles arrives, because it's what he does. He shows up and he provides. And in terms of him being a King of Pentacles, Pentacles are about investment, energetic or otherwise. So if you are depleting yourself, you're not doing it because you're bored. You're not doing it for the want of something else to do. You're doing it because you're feeling really driven to do it. The problem is, I feel like the premise, whatever premise this responsibility is standing on, it's incorrect. And there are other things that are going on outside of you that as yet you're simply too tired to notice, Libra, or certainly too tired to give proper contemplation to. I think I would put it that way. So when we move into March, we've got the Five of Swords. And I do feel like that is somewhat of the energy properly peaking for you this month. I mean, the fives always speak about instability when they show up, right? And so I'm not saying you're mentally unstable. I'm saying this energy is showing you where the way that your mind is thinking about a situation is becoming unsustainable, right? There's enough evidence outside of you to show you that your essential proposition, your essential premise for doing what you're doing has been coming from a place that can no longer be justified. You know, I do feel like, particularly with this version of the Five of Swords, that it's almost like the screws tightening, tighter and tighter and tighter, and you're like, I'm holding completely opposing views in my head. I'm trying to look after people, and I'm not looking after myself. You know, I intellectually know something, but my behaviour perhaps has been something entirely different. I understand the value of self-care. I do not exercise any about my person, you know, those sorts of things. It can speak to self-sabotage, which effectively is what your behaviour would be amounting to, because you're not seeing where these opportunities to break out of where you are and into something new are being shown to you. It's almost like you're kind of stuck perpetuating an old cycle, and the burdens are getting heavier and heavier and heavier, and you're carrying it all by yourself, because other people recognise that it's not their responsibility to carry it, and you haven't. So as people have naturally moved away from this situation, as they should, you found yourself carrying all of it. And you have to take this as it resonates to you, because the expression of this will be different for everyone. So we have the Nine of Wands in reverse, and I think that this is really important because, as ever, Libra, this comes down to boundaries. And I think that, what's the word? It's cognitive dissonance is the word that I want to use. I feel like you are going to end up realizing that you cannot maintain, well, you certainly can't sustain or maintain the level of mental exhaustion and perhaps even physical exhaustion that you're experiencing at the moment. I would throw emotional exhaustion in there too. It's unsustainable. It has to stop at some point. And I'm not sure if it's that is challenging you. The fact that you're going to have to put it down because you cannot sustain it any longer. And this is what is going to cause you to look at the fact that maybe you shouldn't be carrying it so much, as it is. The Nine of Wands can speak to resilience too. Just this dude here, he's all battered and fucked up, right? And he knows that he's not at the end yet. He's just got to keep going, but he's nearly at the end. The end being the Ten of Wands. But the other thing that the Nines speak to me about is how you, as an individual, manage whatever suit they represent. So here, it's how you manage your mind, how you keep perspective, how you keep everything on the straight and narrow in your own head. This here would be about your actions, because the Wand suit is all about your behaviours, your actions, the things that you do, the things that excite you, the things that you are motivated to move, to pursue, right? Now, boundaries, which is a huge aspect of this card here, are exercised by way of your actions. You feel like you've been sucked into something that's been literally sucking the life out of you for a while. And had you had boundaries, this situation would not have happened. The problem is, it's all very well me sitting here and saying, you shouldn't have been in this situation, you should have better boundaries and all that kind of thing, and be vaguely admonishing you about it. But I feel like the reason why this is causing such a state of tension in your own head here is because you know it intellectually, but you're feeling compelled by something to keep doing it anyway. And we've got the Devil card and the Hermit. Now, the Devil card is never particularly fun when he shows up. That's Capricorn energy. No shade to Capricorns anywhere. But it represents codependency, toxic relationships. It can represent substance abuse and all sorts of things, But fundamentally, at its core, it speaks about fear, and how fear can absolutely either keep us stuck in one place, or it can keep us labouring on, repeating a cycle over and over again, because we are simply afraid to break out of that. It's something so familiar that we stay where we are. Now, the energy of the Hermit card, the Virgo energy, is saying it's time to bring a light in here and check out what's going on, because the Devil thrives in an environment where there are no boundaries. He brings no energy of his own to the table. He can only sustain himself by draining yours. And it is where it is that we don't see how situations are draining us, how they're taxing us, and how, boundaries would be a really good idea. It's where we don't see that we end up just kind of feeding the devil all of the energy that we've got, and he gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Like, you feel to me like you've got entrenched in the middle of something and you don't know how to get out of it. Now, March is all about the internal exploration, looking for the answers. You know, is there codependency in this situation that has now become so burdensome for you? The fact that the Ace of Swords is showing up twice makes me think that at a bare minimum you're going to be able to recognise that codependency exists. But like I said before, there's a big breakout energy here for you, where you've been made uncomfortable enough that all of the pennies are dropping at the same time. And the idea of staying in the situation that you're in is so uncomfortable for you that it outweighs the fear of pushing past it, or the fear of letting go of the codependency, of letting go of whatever it is that you're attached to. And this is really positive, but it's like the truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. And I do feel like there is an aspect of that here, and it's like you've got to get to such a point of mental, physical, spiritual, emotional exhaustion before you'll stop and examine your own mind and see if what you've been doing is actually, you know, shortening your lifespan, if I can put it as bluntly as that. Because you feel like you are stressed out and exhausted. And because this can't carry on, we just start looking for different ways to approach this situation, which means different ways of thinking. And the energy of the Ace of Swords twice here is supporting some huge truth emerging in your head that is helping you see the world in a very different way, this situation in a very different way. And at the very least, allowing you to put a bit of space around you without feeling a sense of guilt about it, which is really interesting. So, I'm going to go over to the extended now. If you would like to join me over there, you can do it on Circle or Vimeo. You're very welcome to do so. If not, no shade. It's not the kind of message that I enjoy handing out to people, but I do firmly believe that we're all being asked to shed skin at the moment, and everybody is finding this uncomfortable. I know it's not much consolation. But the more you can lean into what is uncomfortable and personally confrontational in your own head about your own psyche and your own approaches to things, the swifter this bubble of tension will pop, and you'll be able to see more clearly what's going on with you moving forwards. So anyway, away to the extended. Know that I love you all very, very much. I'll see you soon.